Welcome back to The Second Perspective. 2021 is over and it's time to recap our top videos of the year. We're only going to show you the highlights, so to watch each video in full, click the cards as they appear in the top right corner of the screen. And now, without further ado, here is number 10, The Dilemma.
Okay, yes, we're bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks? And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, actually, for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction.
Coming in at number 9, Return of the Nazis.
Hitler did not look like a monster. He did not act like a monster. He talked like an American politician. We trusted them. We did not ask questions. So the first thing what happened, we had to carry national ID cards. You could not board a bus, you could not board a train without showing your national ID card. Don't ever let that happen here. Very bad idea. Hitler wrote a book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle. He wrote in the book everything what he was going to do, that he was going to take over the world. But the Austrian people were so busy with athletics and sports, so very few people read the book. Had we read the book, we would have known what was coming.
Number 8, It's Shot Day. On May 23, 2021, the Toronto hospitals held a COVID vaccination clinic in the Nathan Phillips Square.
And I should say that just to make it even more inviting, there's even some ice cream.
How's the ice cream, kids? Great! This whole morning has been wonderful. Too wonderful. It's shot day!
Welcome to hell!
See you later, inoculator. Now that wasn't so bad, was it, Bart? You know, sometimes the fear of... Whoa, something's wrong. I can't hear.
I'm afraid the inoculation has swollen his ear holes shut. Maybe this would be a good time to talk about side effects. The boy's hearing should clear up in a day. If it doesn't, call me in the Bahamas. For now, he can express himself with this complimentary pen. Cool. Oh, it's a good pen. Try it out. That was a malpractice waiver, fool.
Number 7, Comply or Die.
Like, is it going to be the hospitals next going to kick us out because we're not vaccinated?
Now, Canada's largest transplant centre, the University Health Network, has become the first to restrict these precious organs only to those who have been vaccinated against COVID-19.
You can't be actively drinking and be listed for a liver transplant. You can't actively be smoking and be listed for a lung transplant. And this is the same kind of thing, really.
Her life has now been held hostage because of this mandate.
I am very comfortable not suggesting, but saying you have to do this or else we'll have to put you on hold.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Number 6, the shocking cover-up of Maddie to Garay.
They just want to be seen. They want their stories heard. They would like to be believed.
On January 20th, Maddie received her second dose of the Pfizer COVID vaccine as a participant in the clinical trial. Over the past 5 months, Maddie has been to the ER 9 times and has been hospitalized 3 times for a total of 2 months in the hospital. They're just saying it's mental. At one point, they even tried to admit her to a mental hospital. Why aren't they researching her to figure out why this happened?
The former editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine explains.
They know how to behave. They just don't find it profitable to behave that way.
Pfizer published the results of its trial, There was no mention of Maddie's severe reaction, and the authors concluded that the shot had a favorable safety profile. This begs the question, how many other cases of disability has Pfizer brushed aside? And if Maddie really was the only one, out of 1,131 participants, then mass vaccination could cause over 17,500 disabilities in just 12 to 15-year-olds.
Number 5. Groundhog Day. I think it's about time that someone asked the obvious question here.
There is something so familiar about this. Do you ever have deja vu?
Deja vu indeed. Take a look at this headline from December 2020, when the UK variant first hit center stage. Flights were put on hold, and Fauci encouraged people to roll up their sleeves. Then came the Delta variant, posing the same concern, leading to more travel restrictions. And yet another endorsement from Fauci.
These vaccines continue to strong protection against SARS-CoV-2, including the Delta variant, and so why it's so important to get vaccinated.
Then came OMIKRON, yet another variant that may be resistant to the shots. And with it came yet another travel ban.
Really? This is the third time.
If you've caught onto the pattern by now, the solution they're promoting should come as no surprise.
We probably need more than 90%. We need as close to 100% vaccination rate as we can get.
And thus, facing this real-life Groundhog Day, man has learned to empathize with the hamster on the wheel. Number 4. Ignoring the data.
We looked at 48,000 COVID cases in healthy kids, and no healthy kid died. The mortality rate was 0 among healthy kids.
So now we see the picture more clearly. The COVID deaths over the past 18 months has ranged from 0 for healthy children up to a likely maximum of 412 for those who were less healthy. The only remaining piece of data we need is the deaths caused by the flu. For this, we go to the CDC's page on influenza disease burden, click on past season estimates, and find the most devastating year of influenza. That was the winter encompassing the end of 2012 to early 2013. Flu killed between 450 to over 2,800. And here is the kicker. Whereas the deaths due to COVID cover an 18-month period since the pandemic began, the flu managed to rack up these deaths in only 7 months. And lastly, in case the picture was not clear enough, pay close attention to this final point. Though COVID has been unable to kill any healthy youngster, the flu, on the other hand, is certainly more than capable. In the CDC's own words, half of flu-related deaths occurred in otherwise healthy children. Though we'd really love to conclude with an evidence-based summary, we have unfortunately used up our independent thinking allowance for the day. So, here is the expert opinion.
We have lost more children from SARS-CoV-2 than we ever lose for influenza. I come down strongly on ultimately vaccinating our children.
Number 3. OMIKRON the video game.
A game? Everything you see around you is real.
What you experience here is no game. It's reality.
In this reality, the government explicitly tells citizens,
"Don't think. We know what is good for you."
The people of OMIKRON gladly obeyed and found that their happiness increased.
This increase is explained by the quality of planning and a stricter control of ideas.
So important is this control of ideas that the government sent out this public memo. We remind all citizens that if you suspect someone of having their own ideas, it is your duty to inform the fact-checkers, thought controllers.
Any person having information about the terrorist group known as the Awakened is requested to denounce them to the proper authorities.
The Awakened are fighting for freedom, in order not to be governed by a machine.
Now, just to be clear, what she is saying has nothing to do with QR codes, nor the artificial intelligence that social media platforms use for censorship. Instead, the Awakened risked everything to get one message out.
Wake up, people of OMIKRON. Corrupt government are lulling you to sleep in order to control you better. Join the Awakened ones and rise up to fight for your freedom. Together, we can win.
Number 2. The Untold Risk. On August 30th, 2021, the CDC's vaccine safety team provided an update on myocarditis. 16 to 17-year-old boys were the group at the highest risk of myocarditis after the second dose. Now you're probably wondering, what's the big deal? Well, have a look at this research study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Its findings, however, are disturbing. Of the 132 people who had acute myocarditis, only 45% were alive without having received a heart transplant by the 11-year mark. In other words, just over half of them either died or needed a transplant within 11 years. When thinking about teenagers, however, you need to take these findings with a grain of salt. Nevertheless, the warnings of our recent past continue to plead for caution. This brings us to yesterday's shocking news. The FDA decided on December the 9th to authorize a booster shot for 16 to 17-year-olds. Let that sink in. Now, before we reveal our number one pick, here are some honorable mentions. Canadian Premier goes full Tyrant.
This wave of the pandemic is being driven almost entirely by one group that consists of about 20 to 30% of our population, those that have made the choice to remain unvaccinated. We have been very patient, possibly too patient. The time for patience is now over.
Parental consent not required. The legal age for drinking alcohol is 18, and the legal age for smoking cigarettes is also 18. Yet when it comes to taking an injection of an experimental product that lacks even 3 years of safety data,
there's no limit to the age that somebody can consent. So you don't need to have a parent's consent. You don't need to have a signed consent form.
Just stats.
The vaccines are safe.
The benefits of the vaccine in preventing COVID far outweigh any risks.
The benefits far outweigh any risk.
This vaccine's known and potential benefits outweigh its known and potential risks.
The benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks.
This was the very first video we made. It had no voiceover, but did have one of the most shocking verifiable facts on our channel. Speaking of shocking discoveries, it's time for number 1. Chip in a pill. Imagine getting your house raided simply because a computer told the police that you didn't take a mandatory medication. In case you're finding the thought too far-fetched, we ask you to take a close look at this FDA news release. And now listen to the CEO of Pfizer explain the implications.
Again, maybe I will use an example. I think it's fascinating what's happening in this field right now. I mean, FDA approved the first electronic pill, if I can call it like that. So it is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance. The insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
Thank you so much for tuning into our end-of-year special. We'd like to wish you a happy new year. And remember, if you found this valuable, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for more videos on The Second Perspective.